2, 3, 4.
Bon dia, my brothers and earmas. On this, our 30th and possibly, you heard me right, possibly final episode of the Good Morning Guys podcast. That is right, folks. We have breaking, heart and soul crushing news that we have to hit on right away. Our first bump in the road as a podcast has come upon us. I have to confess that I'm not too surprised. But I got this message earlier today. Guys, I wanted to talk to you guys in person or through Skype, but I think it'll be way too hard for me to talk about, so I'm just going to write it here. I've had an absolute blast recording with you guys for the past 7 months, but tonight will be my last recording. As much fun as I've had doing it, the friendships that I've made, the improvement in my Photoshop skills, how you have helped me strengthen my love for the Lord, and so on and so on. I can't keep this up. The relationship between me and my wife and kids has been strained, with everything revolving around the podcast, from late nights recording, editing, conversations in both Hangouts and Discord. It has also taken me away from my duties at my current job to where I can't focus. So it pains me to say that I cannot continue on. And what better way to go out than on an episode of Heartbreak? If you want to talk about it, I may be blubbering mess as I put my heart and soul into this podcast. Editing used to be a struggle, but now you all have become so much better at being hosts. So I'm sure you'll do great in my absence. Feel free to text or call. I'll be around. Thanks, guys. And I love you from the bottom of my heart. Patrick, you've got to fill us in. What happened?
Yeah, my wife sat down with me, and I just couldn't. I can't keep doing this and keeping away from my kids. You know, there's a lot of days, a lot of nights where this has taken up a lot of my time, and unfortunately, I can't continue to do this on a consistent basis. So I owe it to my wife to be around more. So especially with my kids. So I won't be able to continue. So it's been it's been fun. It's been a good ride. But yeah, this is my last one.
Marc, Ronnie, do you want to say anything in regards to this? Respond. This is the best time to do it. Get it all off our chests.
Yeah, man, we're going to be sad to see you go for sure. I'm also announcing my retirement. No, not really. I'm staying.
Man, come on. We can't do 2 in 1 week.
I'm still
Don't
staying,
do that
but,
to me.
Man,
at least once a week.
We are going to sorely miss you, sir.
Thanks.
Patrick, you were my friend before the podcast. I'm not sure if you'll be my friend after the podcast. No, I'm just kidding.
Best friends, maybe?
We'll probably move up to best friends.
All right.
But
Seems like a backwards move.
And thankful to do this for 30 episodes, for sure.
Made it to the big 3-0.
I can't wait to see what you guys do next.
I have to say I'm very disappointed. I was instead of 30 episodes, I was looking for 30 years. And you've definitely brought heartbreak to our lives. Is there anything else you want to add?
I was actually just hoping for like 36 episodes. I mean, 30 years is a serious commitment, and I wasn't prepared to make
Pretty low there.
Wow.
36.
Way to set them standards high.
We only fell a little
I'm sure
short.
you guys will go past 36.
Who's going to edit?
Sure you guys will.
Marc, you're a full-time editor now.
You
got that right?
It's a tough job, but
You guys leave it up to me. Nothing is getting edited ever.
No, I guess I will gladly step into that role for sure.
Can we get you to teach like an editing course before you go, like an on your way out tour?
Sure. Yeah, just like I edit out Lucas's mess ups.
Actually,
Yeah.
You know what? I can probably handle this.
Oh, gosh. Really? Are you sure about that?
I mean, every time you've ever said edit something out, it's always in there.
Yeah, it's pretty easy.
It is pretty
It's like
easy.
a sweet
It's like
gig.
I don't have to do a thing.
New
It's so
title
easy.
under my name.
A caveman could do it.
I have to grow my hair out to get it tall like that, though.
Nah.
Man, we are gonna miss you. That's rough.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to miss him so much.
It's not gonna be the same.
Kind of feel
I
like
hate
he
you
was
too.
dead weight sometimes.
I feel like you're being a little harsh right now.
Hey, if he could lay it all out before us, I mean, I think we have the right to lay it all out. If you're gonna break my heart, I'm gonna break it back, buddy.
Ooh.
I feel like I need to like make a joke here because he's like tearing up a little bit. Like I am gonna cry if you cry. I'll tell you that right now.
Turning off video.
Dang it, I'm gonna cry.
I'm not crying. You're crying.
You're crying.
I think I have to say one more thing before we somehow can get through this episode. Happy April Fool's Day, my brothers and sisters. Strap yourselves in, folks, because this is going to be a bumpy ride. I would guess that at least half of what we are going to say during the show today may or may not be true on this annual Joyful Deception Day. As you may or may not have guessed, it went on way longer than I thought it would. Patrick is a big, fat, fake news liar. So, shall we carry on, gentlemen?
Yes, we shall.
You're not just a liar, you are a fat liar.
A fat liar. Regardless how this episode turns out or episode 36 turns out, thanks for joining us on this fine morning, afternoon, evening, or night as we continue discussing the game of life amidst the other games we love to watch and play. I'm one of your hosts, the Brazilian Mountaineer, Lucas Ham Swisher. To my bottom right corner, the judge, jury, and executioner of fake news and fake resignations, Patrick Novacell.
Good morning.
And to my other right, a guy who can make anyone laugh in 3 words or less, Ronnie Johantis.
Hello.
And finally, right below me, the man with music in his heart and Doctor Who on his brain, Marc Boucher.
Happy Don't Believe Anything on the Internet Day.
Yay! If this is your first time joining us, welcome. You picked a good one to start your journey with us, as long as you don't mind a few pit stops along the way. Or us getting lost, which happens a lot, because we don't edit anything, as we've already discussed. At least Patrick doesn't. If it's not your first time, well, you had your chance to get off a few stops ago. No looking back now. Now, before we continue on and get into the thick of it, I wanted to ask a question about April Fools before we move on to other things in life. Have you guys been fooled either today or in the past, or have you fooled anyone recently besides Patrick trying to fool us earlier this morning and now on the show?
You know, for a brief moment, I was actually fooled today because all of a sudden I saw on the internet, I think it was on Instagram, that is like a posting from a comic book website that I follow on Instagram. They said that Michael B. Jordan was officially taking over as Superman, which for a second I was like, oh, what? They're actually going to do it. But then I was like, okay, yeah, fake news.
Fake news.
I had last year, no, it was 2 years ago, one of my employees, I played a little prank on him, and I got the whole team to be in on it. I basically had told him that there's some new responsibilities that we need to take care of, and we are going to have to work on Saturdays and Sundays for like the next 6 months for 8 hours of those 2 days, including our Monday through Friday schedule. And so I had everyone like in on it. And when I had sent this email out, everyone had responded, yeah, like they're all totally on board with doing this. And then he comes to me and he's like, well, I guess I'm going to have to go quit my weekend job. And then he walks away. I'm like, okay, this has got to be over because I've got to make sure he still keeps his job because this is just a joke.
Oh no,
it went a little too far, but yeah, that was my favorite one that I've done.
That'd been hilarious if he just walked in like, "Hey, I quit."
No, just kidding.
We're just kidding. I don't recall getting anybody like on a good April Fool's joke. I know I've been like fooled in the past, but never like a really big like joke or anything like that. So
no,
but I never
nothing.
pay attention to like what day it is. So I would have like if nobody posted anything about April Fool's Day, I wouldn't even have known.
Really, you're just that oblivious and just.
The only reason that Patrick didn't get me with his resignation was because you guys had all responded 35 times by the time I looked at my phone.
That is correct. Yeah, when Patrick wrote us this morning, I mean, I'll be honest, there was like a millisecond where I was like, what? And then I just read it and I was like, no, I do not accept this. And then Mark and I, yeah, as you said, Ronnie, we wrote 35 messages in response.
I wrote it, and I after rereading it, I'm like, man, this is actually pretty good. Too bad it's on April Fool's Day. And
Yeah.
Mark responds, dude, I know what day it is.
Yeah.
Saw right through me.
And my response was, you tell us this again tomorrow with a straight face, and then we'll continue the discussion.
Yeah, he didn't want to talk about it on Skype because he knew he'd break immediately.
I don't know. I think he would do a pretty good job. I think he could hold his own, maybe.
How long did it take you to write that?
Well, I was on Discord mode, quote unquote Discord.
He was pooping.
So,
Hashtag poop life. That's what I was going to say.
yep,
Poop life. Yeah.
that's exactly what I did.
Nice. It's good use of your time. Well, for me, April Fools, I always have these intentions. I think this is with a lot of holidays. Like, you make these plans in your head and then they don't always pan out. But there was one time in middle school that for some reason, I had to stay. I got called to the principal's office, but not for the reason that people usually say when they get called to the principal's office. And it just so happened that my sister saw me get called to the principal's office, and it was totally unrelated to anything in life. Like, they needed me to get a letter or give something to my teacher. I don't know. And so anyways, my sister later on in the school day was like, hey, did you get called to the principal's office? I think this was 7th grade. And I was like, yeah, I got in trouble. She's like, what happened? And I said, well, I got in a fight. And she said, well, you're going to have to tell Mom. And I'm like, I don't really want to, because she's going to punish me and I'm going to get in big trouble. She's like, well, you got to tell her or I'm going to tell her. I'm like, are you serious? You would do that? And she's like, yeah. I was like, oh, all right. Well, I guess I'll talk to her after school. And so I don't remember how I did it because we didn't have cell phones at this point. This is back in the Stone Age.
Did you have like one of those cans with a string?
Yeah, that's what it was. I want to say that I went to the principal's office and was like, hey, can I call my mom at home? So I called. I somehow got a hold of my mom either at work or at home, and I was like, Mom, I'm going to come home from school, and I'm going to tell you that I got in a fight, and I want you to pretend like you believe me, obviously, and that I'm in trouble. And then we were just talking, and I was like, and then maybe you can we can go to my room and you can pretend like you're beating me, like spanking my butt and stuff. And she's like, okay, this is my stepmom. This isn't even my real mom. So this is totally like off the cuff. And so we get to the end of the school day, we go home and we just start acting it out. And I'm like, Mom, I got to talk to you about something. And so we started talking. And then she's like, now you need to go to your room. I'm going to get a wooden spoon and I'm going to spank you with the wooden spoon. And I'm like, okay. And so I went to my bedroom, and then my stepmom came in with the wooden spoon and she started hitting my waterbed. And I start going, like screaming like I'm hurting. All of a sudden we hear footsteps like run upstairs. And my mom stops and she opens the door and she's like, your sister's crying. I'm like, are you serious?
Oh, no. Oh, no.
And we go upstairs and she's bawling her eyes out in her bedroom. And we're like, April Fools. And she's like, I hate all of you. And she's like crying.
That's when you know the joke's gone too far.
Yes.
How old again?
I was in 7th or 8th grade and she was 6th grade, I think. She's like 2 or 3 years younger. So, oh man. It was like, from there I was like, I don't need to ever plan an April Fool's joke again because that was perfect. It was good stuff. So, all right. Carrying on. Let's get into some updates. I know it's only been 4 or 5 days, but I just have a feeling that things have been happening in life. So why don't we start with Ronnie? Tell us, buddy, what's been going on?
All right. Well, this past week, the Pirates started their season in football.
Cool.
And I went to the game, and it was absolutely everything it was cracked up to be. Pirates lost, which was a bummer. But man, I had such a good time downtown Pittsburgh, and Yeah, that was Thursday. I was down there pretty much all day from like 9 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Aren't you a Reds?
It was fantastic.
Are you a Reds fan?
Oh no, I'm a diehard Pirates fan.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah,
I used to be a Pirates fan
then,
too. I didn't.
What's that?
I used to be a Pirates fan too. I didn't know we had that in common.
Yeah, the Pirates and the Phillies, they're both big in my household.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and then so that was
Wait
Thursday.
a minute, the Pirates
and then
and the Phillies? Is that what you said? You like Pittsburgh and Philadelphia because they're right next to each other?
Oh yeah, exactly.
No,
Yep.
Just making sure that's a weird combination. I feel like to
No,
just to like
it's
both of those two random teams seems like maybe you just dumped
I
all those
like-
bandwagons.
I like all 30 NBA teams, so I can never lose.
Is there 30
Okay.
NBA teams?
There may be more than 28.
Okay, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
So, is that it?
So
Or
no, yeah. I played 36 hours of volleyball.
awesome.
Third-
Like in
and-
wait in one day?
No, between 2 days.
Oh, okay, cool. You
Yeah.
have to sleep.
So it's normal.
gotta sleep
It's normal
some.
for me. It's very normal.
Yeah.
So I won all 17 tournaments that I played in.
Wow. Did you make any money?
No, I did not make any money because each tournament costs like $100, and we only won $50 each one. So
Oh, that's unfortunate.
yeah, I lost money, but I had an absolute terrible time, so it worked out.
Great.
Yeah. We played in what I say, 18 tournaments.
That's close enough.
And yeah, so it was a good time. I did that. I did that on Friday and Saturday, and then yesterday I also played for another 24 hours. So yeah, it was tough. I'm young still. I'm not getting any older. Actually, it's fantastic how my body has been responding. So yeah, it's been fantastic. Oh yeah, and I did watch a movie.
What movie did you watch?
I watched Catwoman.
Interesting choice. What why did you watch Catwoman?
Well, I was
Sorry.
just laying on my couch, and my buddies texted me and said they were coming over with one of the best movies of all time. So, and I'm not very big on the comic book movies, so I just assumed that we were going to watch a good one. I mean, just after watching Guardians of the Galaxy 3, I assumed that this one was just going to be right up there with that. So I decided, all right, let's go ahead and watch Catwoman. And oh my goodness, it was one of the best movies I've ever seen.
Sorry, I just threw up in my mouth a little bit. I'm sorry. Continue, Patrick.
Oh yeah, there was some of that. I mean, it was about a cat, so there was some of that too. It
I'm
was
sure
cool.
there was, yeah.
Yeah. So I really want to watch Batman and Robin now too.
That was a good
after watching
recommendation
that.
by me, right? Catwoman? That's one of my favorites
Yes.
also.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for recommending
I'm
it.
Patrick,
I appreciate
so-
that. Thanks, Patrick. I appreciate that.
Yeah, good stuff.
But, yeah.
Good stuff, Ronnie.
That's all I did. How about you, Patrick?
Well, I had a pretty interesting weekend. First, I went to opening day downtown, and we went to a bunch of those places down, like right in downtown Cincinnati. Me and my buddy Chris, we got a bunch of drinks down there. Basically, the only thing we drink is straight martinis with the green olives.
Oh,
And
yum.
man, we
Those
just
are
drink
tasty.
those nonstop. I can never get
Now,
enough of them.
Now, do you
they are
like them
delicious.
dirty, right? Like
And
extra olive
filthy.
juice?
Just a filthy, dirty martini. That is absolutely my favorite. Sometimes I like to wash that back with a Zima. Man, those
I
are
love me
just
some Zima.
absolutely delicious. We knocked those back all day, and then me and Chris went back to my house and we had a slumber party. Chris always brings a sleeping bag over, and we like to just use the same sleeping bag so we can stay warm. So we did that. It was really fun.
That's actually true. So I appreciate that.
What's that, Ronnie?
That's actually true. I heard that.
Oh, you've been over to the sleepover as well?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I remember
It's a
that.
good
We
one.
tried to put 3 people in the same sleeping bag that night. Didn't fit.
It's tough, but it's cozy.
Didn't
Awkward.
fit. So on Friday, after opening day, we had a great time. We got on Friday morning, there was one thing that on Friday I noticed that was different than the rest of the days so far this year. I had the best hair day of my life.
Really?
Yep, I don't know what it was. I just got right out of the shower. I slicked it back, pushed it up a little bit, and I look like Ron Burgundy.
You need to post that baby on the Discord. We need
It
to.
was incredible.
Did you take some pictures? Did you have Mel take some
firm,
pictures?
but it was high. You know what I mean? It was a thing of beauty, real thing of beauty.
Sounds like it.
But later that day, Friday, I played 4 video games that nobody's ever heard of. I can't even remember the names of them because nobody's ever heard of them. And I did get the plat on all 4 of them, so I'm up to 360 plats so far for the year. I'm tearing
Congrats,
apart my
you
New
are
Year's
rocking
resolution.
it out, man.
I am sailing past it.
Way better than Ronnie. Like
what I'm doing is I'm trying to play all the children's games so that I make myself look better by having all these platinums.
So like Lucas?
Basically the same strategy, yeah.
Man, Lucas, did you hear that shade he's throwing at you?
He is tearing you up, Lucas. What do you have to say for yourself?
I only see his forehead.
Lucas isn't even in the show. He's not even paying attention.
Well, I'm here. I promise. I'm totally here.
You're supposed to host the show. I don't know where you've been.
Oh, well, I was just thinking about my weekend, I was thinking about the crazy.
Well, before you get into that, I got one more thing that I did. So I had a really nice little Sunday. Church in the morning, I sung in the choir, and everybody in church has been calling me Bono because they say I sound exactly like him when I sing. I am so...
Oh, no way.
It's been unbelievable.
Awesome.
Like they all tell me that I should start my own band. They said the combination of voice and hair is stunning. They said, I was made for TV, basically.
All right.
Well,
but
since you're quitting the podcast, you'll have some extra free time to be Bono.
That's exactly right. I was thinking more. I consider myself more of a Bon Jovi. A little bit better of a dancer,
Yeah.
I can see
but
that.
other than that, we had a nice little Sunday. Went to Home Depot. We had a little extra time, so we went to Bed Bath & Beyond. And just sat and watched some TV with the kids after that. It was a really great weekend. How about you, Lucas?
My weekend was kind of boring, but, I did a few things here and there throughout the weekend. Saturday, we actually went to a deflated Hot Pocket festival in Sao Paulo.
Does that mean there was just nothing inside the Hot Pocket? It's just the shell?
Yeah, that was the best part of it,
flat
honestly.
shell?
Yeah, it's just an empty shell, and everybody loves it. It's one of the main delicacies of
like a
Brazil.
croissant.
Absolutely. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And I had as much cane sugar juice as I could, and it was a great time. My entire family loved it for sure. Sunday, we decided to skip church altogether. I had
It's overrated.
I had some responsibilities, but everybody needs a day off. The Lord rested on Sunday, so why not?
Mark, you just skipped a couple weeks ago, didn't you? It seems like you guys could just,
Well, yeah, I did skip a couple weeks ago, and it was totally worth it. I actually told
You had a
Lucas on
great
the
time,
side. I
didn't you?
texted him. I was like, "Hey, man,
Yeah.
you need to do it sometime. Just skip."
Yeah, you were sick,
Yeah,
apparently.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Well, tell them you're sick. It works really easily. When you're like, I don't feel good. The pastor's like, "Oh, I'm sorry," and it's like,
oh
"Yeah,
man, that was a
okay,
really
thanks."
good sick voice.
Yeah, I know, right?
Oh man,
I don't think I could ever. I don't think I could ever do a sick voice like that. But anyway, so we decided to skip church altogether, and instead we figured, why not do a DC movie binge? We decided to watch a whole bunch of DC movies.
Man
we
after
watched
my own heart, man.
Oh, absolutely. So we decided to watch Wonder Woman and Batman v Superman.
Yep.
The extended cut.
Yes.
Which
the
my
only way to fly.
children loved. They especially loved all the violence in the movies, especially on the part of Batman. And so they were really excited to see another DC movie for sure. After we did that, actually, I've had some animosity, for lack of a better word, there with the cat that likes to pop in my window. And so I decided to bury the hatchet, if you will.
In the cat?
We actually...
You buried the hatchet in the cat.
Is that legal to do in Brazil?
Well, the funny thing about the deflated Hot Pocket Festival is that no, I'm just kidding.
Oh no, it's like a Chinese deflated Hot Pocket festival.
No, actually, I decided to have dinner with the cat. I just decided to take the cat out and set our differences aside and really hash things out. And I'm okay
Keep
with
your
him
friends
popping in my window
close
now.
and your enemies closer.
Absolutely.
I get it.
Wise words.
Is he your enemy
Absolutely.
anymore though? Since you had dinner with him, I feel like you guys probably are good now, right?
We're frenemies now. We tried to invite the cockroach, but obviously the cockroach was a little occupied because he was kind of dead.
You still have a dead cockroach?
Yeah,
Kept it?
We like to remember the old times here in Brazil, the good times, if you will, and
The olden days.
The old
The days of yore.
and so other than that, my weekend was pretty boring. I didn't do anything else. I don't really have much of a job, so But that's pretty much it for me. How about you, Mark?
Well, all right. So, we recorded. I think we recorded on Wednesday. Was it last week? So this Thursday and Friday, it was mostly work. I did a lot of working. Driving them cars around the lot. Cars aren't going to drive themselves.
You're right. Right about that.
And I also did a lot of podcast editing since Patrick dumped it on me, like the good friend he is. And once I figured out how to do that, and I only had to start over like 5 times on Thursday and then twice on Friday. And I finally figured it out. I figured it out. Yeah. Did a little... Patrick wasn't much help. I kept texting him and he kept ignoring me. So I had to use a lot of YouTube videos online.
Yeah, he's good at ignoring people. So.
Yeah. So once I got that edited, I decided to celebrate.
That's false. I'm not good at ignoring people. I mean, I put in so much effort editing this podcast every
All
week.
right. You can say that on the show, but last Thursday and Friday, I was hearing crickets. I was all alone editing.
Yeah, I got to be honest. I don't even care about this podcast. I don't even like editing it.
Fair enough.
I hate this podcast.
In any case,
Why are we here?
Once, are you finished?
No,
Guys, we've got to really just focus in on this podcast. It's got to be encouraging and uplifting.
I feel like everybody's
Kinda
lashing out because I had a fake resignation.
True, but we'll leave that alone. So Mark, go ahead, continue.
Thank you. So once I finally edited the podcast and we posted it, it was the most joy I felt in my life once I was through that. It was Friday, and of course, we decided to go celebrate at La Coretta because we wouldn't go anywhere else to celebrate. No other restaurants exist to the great level of La Coretta. I mean, it's the best.
That's what I hear.
It's the best food on the planet. I mean, forget just being greatest Mexican food. There's no other place I'd rather go. So while we were there, we asked for the usual Mexican dish and hung out with family and also the restaurant employees since they all know us on a first-name basis. And then we were up to the wee hours of the night playing vomiting cats with the family and the La Coretta employees. We're actually considering
Sounds
doing
like a great night.
It was awesome. We're actually considering doing a weekly game night there, and we think it'd be a good outreach.
So all the employees just come back to your house and play games.
We're not going quite there yet. Right now we're doing it at the restaurant because it's like a public area. We can
bring the cards to the
evangelize
restaurant,
more, like reach more people, and eat good Mexican food at the same time. And then after that game night, it was stellar. I can't wait to do it again next week, and the week after that, and the week after that, and the week after that, until who knows? It'll never stop. I hope. It's awesome.
Why stop?
I mean, why?
There's no way. I mean, you're the only customer, right?
No, my family too. And this game night,
You guys are keeping it in business.
It's going to attract more people. But then going on to Saturday, we played Apex Legends. And since that is the only night that Lucas doesn't steal Jonathan from me to play Fallout 76 and Overwatch, I had to make sure to do it on Saturday, not Friday or Tuesday or Wednesday Or
That's
those
awfully considerate of you, man.
Yeah. So, I'm just looking out for you, buddy. Then on Sunday, we had a great time of worship, partly because I couldn't get out of going on Sunday again, because I tried to call the pastor and act sick, but he called me out. He said, no, fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you. That's not how that works. I forgot how that phrase goes.
Did you just have like a
You know what
night
I
at the
mean.
museum moment?
Yeah, pretty much. But we had a great time, great service together with God and his people. And then we rested the rest of the day. And now it's Monday. That's it. It was good stuff. I thought about squeezing in a Marvel night, kind of since Lucas squeezed in a DC night, but I didn't really feel like it. Because the more I thought about it, I was like, who's better than Batman besides La Coretta? But who's better than Batman? So come on.
There's nothing else that we take away from this podcast is that La Coretta is better than Batman.
True that. With that, happy April Fool's Day, everyone. Now that we've given all these fake updates, would you guys like to share any real updates?
Who am I supposed to be for the rest of the show?
Marc, Ronnie, Patrick, and me, Lucas. For those who have lost us, we've just been giving fake updates for the past 20 minutes. If it's not your first time, you probably caught on, but yet still were confused.
If this is your first time, you could not be more confused right now. None of that was even funny because
The
you
worst
never listened.
podcast episode.
Yeah,
to
they're
jump
like,
in
why
on.
are they laughing at this?
What's La Coretta?
What's
a vomiting cat?
The greatest place on earth. So, guys, do you have any real updates you'd like to share? Anything that's been going on? We can loop back around through and hit it up. Patrick, the real Patrick, do you want to share anything?
Sure.
For real?
I'll go, pretty quickly. What Ronnie said, it pretty much happened. I went down to opening day with my buddy Chris. We did not have a slumber party.
Bummer.
Unfortunately,
But
I did not have
did
any-
share a sleeping bag at opening day.
At opening day?
Yes.
You guys camped?
Yeah. So my daughter's birthday, her 8th birthday, was this past week. So we had a birthday party for her over the weekend.
You mean her 9th
which was
birthday?
fun. Yeah. What's that?
You mean her 9th birthday?
Shoot, 9th birthday.
Wait a minute. Who's playing Patrick now?
Marc, stop it.
Yeah. And then that's pretty much it. I played games. Did I get a platinum?
Please
yes,
say,
I did get a platinum.
Please say some
I did
game
get
I've
a
never heard of.
platinum. I got Titanfall 2 platinum.
I love that
I'm sure
children's
you guys
game.
heard of that one.
My son loves Titanfall 2. Shooting people in the face. It's the best.
Yeah, I love the violence.
Yeah.
He loves it.
Yeah, as you know, my kids love the violence of Batman versus Superman violence.
Yeah, but that's pretty much what I did.
Cool. Ronnie?
So, I don't even want to give my update now that I just got torched in the last one because all I did was play volleyball pretty much all weekend.
Also true.
No, I had my normal leagues on Friday night, and on Sunday I played in a charity tournament. So it was charity for a young kid that had passed away. He had like heart disease, and they do this tournament every year for him. So it's all for charity. Like they sell T-shirts and stuff like that. They do a bunch of raffle baskets and then donate all the money back, for that. So it was really fun. We actually did win the tournament.
Nice.
It's one of those things where it's a charity tournament, and our team was like pretty good. So it wasn't like we weren't flexing afterwards in everybody's face.
Like
or
in your
anything like that.
face.
Yeah,
This is for the kids.
but it was really fun. We played really good, and we had a lot of fun, a lot of laughs. And then on going back a day, I did on Saturday something I normally don't do. I went rock climbing. So it was indoor rock climbing at like a rec center in our area. Patrick goes to the Blue Ash Rec Center.
Oh, nice.
And it was really, really fun. It was really fun, and they have like a free climb where you can climb up about 20 feet without being like latched in, and you can get up like on top of that wall. And then they have the ones that go like all the way to the ceiling where you go all the way up, I don't know, probably some 50, 60 feet and ring the bell. You have to be hooked in for those, but it was really cool. It was really cool. Like when you go there, they don't have there's not like a person like holding the rope underneath of you. They're like auto. So you latch them on, and as soon as you like push away from the wall, like it just kind of catches you, and you slowly go down. But it was really cool. It was like it was $5, and they give you shoes, they give you your harness, and that's for all day. You can go in as long as you want. So it was really cool.
Nice.
So I think I'm gonna start doing that. I am doing a Spartan race. I agreed in July. So a Spartan race is...
Does that mean you kick people into wells and yell really loudly?
That's exactly right. I paint abs on my chest before I do it, but yes.
That sounds
no, so
cool.
Spartan race, it's in between 3 and 4 miles. It's one of those races where along the actual race they have like a ton of obstacles you have to complete. So you see those, if you ever see like those mud races and stuff like that, it's not necessarily that. It's more of a kind of like a serious race with like serious, like, you know, you might throw like a javelin or something like that. So if you don't complete the obstacles, you have to do, have you ever heard of like burpees like that?
Oh, yes.
So you have to do so many burpees if you don't complete
Butters
like an
knows about
obstacle.
those.
So,
Oh, yeah, he does.
so you have a lot of, you know, you had a lot of push to complete all these obstacles, but I agreed to do one of those. So I have 3 months, and I kind of have updated like my training. Instead of like straight weight training with heavy weight, I've actually gone more into the cardio stuff, lighter weight, like more reps, and kind of geared everything towards like a race like that. So it's definitely different. Like I'm way more exhausted for my workouts now because I've put in a bunch of cardio in there. So, but I think it's something that's going to be pretty cool.
All right.
Nice. Mark, how about you, buddy? How about that La Coretta?
Well, that did happen for sure.
Woo!
But that only happened tonight, actually.
Ooh, squeeze that in right before the show. Well done.
Yep, we did. And we kind of had to adjust schedules there, but I'll get back to that. So, yeah, pretty much after the podcast on Wednesday, any sort of free time I had, I was trying to make sure that the podcast got edited.
You already told us this. Why are you telling us again?
Because now I'm actually the one telling you.
All right. Fair enough. Love you, Arctic Warlocks.
Fair enough.
So, yeah, it was fun. I was able to get the podcast out on Friday evening, which obviously you guys know that, because for those listening to this, you've probably already listened to the last episode. And if not, well, that's what happened. And then Saturday, had to work. And then afterwards, got in some more Apex Legends, of course. And then Saturday evening, went out to dinner with my in-laws. My brother and sister-in-law were out of town. They went to Connecticut, where my brother-in-law is from. And so instead of going to our usual La Coretta, we went to another restaurant in the city called the Depot Grill. It's very, I guess all American.
Well, if it's all American, then it's actually the Depot Grill, because that's correct American pronunciation.
I get it. But yeah, dinner was great there for sure. And then I believe, can't remember if it was Saturday night or Sunday night. I think it was Saturday. Yeah, it was Saturday night. Patrick and I decided to jump into the original Borderlands for Xbox 360. We went through backwards compatibility on Xbox One.
Yeah, that was a blast. Oh, wait, I'm Ronnie now.
No, we're already past that, Ronnie. Good try.
Ronnie, we're not doing that anymore. But yeah, I mean, I had fun with it. You know, it's definitely an Xbox 360 game. And Borderlands 2 is way better than the first one.
That's correct.
There's a lot about the first Borderlands that's kind of tedious, and they kind of fixed in Borderlands 2. Yeah, I mean the graphics look very much like an early Xbox 360 game, even with Borderlands sort of cell shaded style. We didn't get super far in it because we were having a real tough time because we needed to do some leveling up. We tried to do one mission, and we were just getting like killed immediately every time we tried to do it. So we had to try to do some other side missions to level up before we could actually pull the mission off. But I mean, other than that, it was fun revisiting that. I never actually beat the first Borderlands, and technically I never beat Borderlands 2 either. But I got much farther in Borderlands 2. Like I was almost to the final boss in Borderlands 2. So that game was a lot of fun. So I think I'm gonna revisit that.
You guys both think you'll continue? Patrick, you didn't mention it before, so that's not a good sign. What did you think of Borderlands?
Borderlands 1, it was the first time I ever booted up any Borderlands game. And so I had no idea what this game was like. I had no idea. I mean, I had an idea that there was cel shaded graphics, but I had no idea what the gameplay was going to be like. I told Mark while we're playing, I really want the sliding mechanic like in Apex Legends in every first person shooter, because it's so nice to have. But yeah, like Mark said, we were struggling with some leveling. But once we got it, we played for about 2 hours or so. Yeah. And it took about that long to get ourselves situated with the game, the mechanics, and so forth. But yeah, I think we're gonna continue that, and
Good.
I can't wait to go through that. I was looking to see how long it was gonna take to beat. It's like a 20-hour game, and we played for 2 hours. I would say 10 more times of us playing at least.
Yeah.
We'll be able to complete that. And
if you mainline it
too.
I don't remember, but I don't think there are a lot of side missions. I mean, I think there are some, but I think it's pretty easy to know where to go next. And as long as you don't have to do too much like grinding for levels in case you get, like you talked about before, getting into a mission and you're a little lower level, I don't think you have to do too much of that as long as you guys keep consistent.
One of the things about Borderlands 1 that's so weird is there's no mini map on it. So every time you need to know where to go, you have to either look at your little radar that's at the bottom of the screen that tells you kind of like the direction of it. But if you want to look at the map, you actually have to hold in like the select button or the back button, or go into your menu to pull it up and then move on. It's kind of disorienting to do that. From what I hear, they're remastering the Borderlands. I think it's going to come out tomorrow or something like that.
Yeah, for like
Wednesday.
$30.
They're going to add, or Wednesday. So they're going to add the mini map, which is unbelievable. I can't believe it wasn't in there in the first place. But yeah, I mean, overall, for the first couple hours, I actually enjoyed it. Cool. It was fun playing with Mark.
Yeah, for sure. So that was pretty much gaming on Saturday, and then Sunday was pretty much the normal church routine. So Lucas.
All right, let's go right into it. Since I had such an easy week, since I don't really work, Mark. I'm just kidding. My family had a rough week. Like I'm telling you, my wife was being worked really hard in trying to prepare her grades for grading and school and all that stuff because grades were due on Monday. My daughter had not a huge project due, but she had a project due on Thursday that we had to finish, where pretty much we made a baseball and a baseball bat purely out of paper and tape. It was actually a fun project to do with my daughter. And then James, my son, got in trouble this past week for speaking Portuguese in English class. My American and Brazilian son.
How do you get in trouble for speaking Portuguese?
In English class.
So? I was in Spanish class and I spoke English.
It's a little different. There's
Is it?
Yeah.
Is it?
It is.
Really?
Is it?
There were rules. And the rules were only speak English in English class. And he got in trouble for speaking Portuguese. He got on his what is that? His behavior card, he got yellow instead of green or blue. And he was very distraught when he came home. And I have to initial it every day. He had been on a green streak green streak for the past 2 or 3 weeks. And he came home and he kind of had his head down and he handed me the behavior card and it was yellow. And I'm like, "What happened, buddy? It's yellow." He's like, "I spoke Portuguese in English class." And I'm like, "What? You did what?
How could
And
you?
my wife and I are just like, are you serious? We're going to just knock it down just because, I mean, it's kind of funny just
James,
because
we taught you better than this.
Yeah, well, that's the funny thing,
Yes.
too, is that we only speak English at home. He's going to an American school, which is predominantly English-speaking. And then my American son, who is also Brazilian, but he's very much American. He's redhead, white kid that does not look like he's Brazilian, if we're being, racist. He... Maybe not
Probably-
racist. I don't know
Probably
what the...
stereotypical.
Stereotypical. That's the word. That's the
what you're
less.
looking for.
That's the less aggressive word I was looking for, but I couldn't think of. I'm just gonna keep going with it. Yeah, stereotypical. My son does not look like a Brazilian stereotypically, and so for him to get in trouble for speaking Portuguese was just. I just thought it was funny, and it was just as Patrick's best friend would say, that's hilarious. So, beyond that, we did have a highlight to the weekend because it was also my daughter's birthday this past week. She also
Her
turned
8th
9.
birthday?
Her 9th birthday.
No.
I'm not going to reveal my dementia in less than a minute after I already talked about racial slurs, so moving on. My daughter had a slumber party this past weekend, which was kind of a mixed bag. Only because her friends were cool, we had fun, we played games, we watched a fun movie, but my son was very, very, very jealous, and he made it known to the whole world during the whole weekend that he was disappointed that he did not also have a slumber party, and that it was also not his birthday. Because at every chance he had, he was complaining that it wasn't fair, at least out loud or to himself silently, that it was not fair that she had this, she had that, na. And then, of course, my daughter, knowing that it was her weekend, she was very much like, James, you're ruining my moment. Shush. Like telling him to be quiet and to go in the corner and all that stuff. So it made things very interesting. There was definitely some conflict between brother and sister. But we did watch How to Train Your Dragon, The Hidden World, a.k.a. How to Train Your Dragon 3, and we loved it a lot. It's right up there with many of the other great animated trilogies like Toy Story, Madagascar, and Kung Fu Panda. I would highly recommend it for those with kids. Even if you don't have kids, the stories of those trilogies, those animated trilogies, are classic. Good stuff. On Sunday, I did preach. As I talked about last week, I got to preach in Portuguese, and I talked about friendship, as I had mentioned last week. Actually, the show was kind of prep for talking about some of the stories that I talked about and things I shared during the sermon. The only hiccup I had was that during one of the things I was talking about, I was sharing about the fruits of the Spirit in Portuguese, and I mispronounced the word for self-control. And instead of saying self-control, I said controlled by a demon. And so it's pretty much me talking about the fruits of the Spirit being like, so you need this, you need that, you need self-control. But instead in Portuguese, I said, and you need to be controlled by a demon.
It's funny how you can walk the line
with
both languages.
It's dominio. So self-control is dominio proprio. And I said demonio proprio, which is demon, like. I said you need a demon in your life because that's what God wants for your life. So they knew what I meant. It was close enough. They knew what I meant. And my wife, she was laughing actually during the sermon. And I was like, oh no, what did I say? But it was too late. It was already done. Kind of like my comment earlier about,
Thanks, honey.
Yeah. Thanks, dear. Today I kind of mixed things up a bit. So typically my Monday mornings have been my cheat day for Lent when I play video games by myself instead of multiplayer. But because of our TV episode we had a couple weeks ago, and because you guys had kind of brought up some shows that I had never really given a chance, I actually wanted to start The Office on Netflix, but it is not on Netflix in Brazil. And I was so bummed. So I went to the search area and I kind of looked online at some other shows, and I think Patrick, either off air or on the show, I don't remember, had mentioned Breaking Bad.
Yes.
So I watched the first episode of Breaking Bad.
I think Ronnie might have said that. Maybe I didn't. I
maybe
can't remember,
Ronnie did.
Yeah,
somebody
it's one of the
mentioned
best
it.
shows.
But a lot of people have mentioned it. So I was like, you know what? I need to finally just see what this is all about. I knew it wasn't a show that my wife would be interested in. And I was on the border myself, but I was like, I'm going to give it a chance. So I watched it, and I'm not watching it anymore.
What?
Okay.
No, you need to give it. Like,
no.
the first season's like 6 episodes or something. Give it the entire season, and it gets way, way better.
It's not so much the story. Like, I understand the story, kind of like the intrigue of like what he's doing and what he's going through. For me, it's partially the content, and it's the whole anti-hero story. I'm not a big fan of most anti-hero stories, and so to me, it's like playing Grand Theft Auto. Like, they try to give you a person who's like a good guy in comparison to everybody else in it, but they're not really a good guy. And I know that the story's really good, and I know there's a lot to it. I actually, confession, I read the first 3 season synopsis of each episode on Wikipedia after I watched the first episode, and I knew I wasn't going to continue. So I know what's happened in the first 3 seasons, so we can talk about it. It's good times. It's just not something I want to invest the time in, and I just don't enjoy the characters in it. And that kind of thing. But at the same time, again, those that have put in the time and I love the show, I hold nothing against you, and I completely understand why you like it so much. So sorry, Patrick, to break your heart, but I can't watch any more of Breaking Bad. Speaking of breaking hearts, that is today's topic: Heartbreak. All right, boys and girls, guys and gals, today's topic is Heartbreak. It was suggested by Barnaby Butters many, 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 many months ago, and we finally brought it forth to the community along with Cars and Dreams, and Heartbreak won out after the people on Discord, our community members on Discord and Twitter, spoke. We are going to cover the gambit of heartbreaks all across the board. It could be a breakup, a broken dream, a moment of life, sudden realization of what the heck am I doing with myself, a very bad decision on our part that broke somebody else's heart, family, friend, hopefully not a stranger, and maybe even how we dug ourselves out of it and we helped others to get out of it as well. So, as I like to do, I like to start at the very beginning, and we're going to start with our very first heartbreak. So, go back as far as you can remember. I know sometimes for Ronnie that's usually around the age of 12 or 13, but do your best. What's the first heartbreak you can remember coming up in your life?
I remember when I was like 5 years old, and we had these neighbors, and these neighbors, there were 2 brothers, and one was my age and one was my older brother's age, which they were like 2 years apart, just like we were. And we used to hang out with them all the time. I mean, they were just right across the street. And we hung out with them maybe, I guess, my entire childhood. But I really don't remember them until I believe I was like 5 years old. And we hung out with them, during the summers, after school. And then one day, out of the blue, I wanted to go play with them. And my mom said that they had moved away. And I know it's just like, I don't know if I just didn't process the moving or what. Like, I thought I was still going to be able to see them.
You thought they were wrapping like Christmas presents or something in a bunch of boxes?
I don't remember them like packing stuff up. Like, I guess I was too involved in, being a kid, playing around and not really, understanding
you were
the gravity
5.
of it. Yeah.
You're 5,
and so yeah, I think they moved away when I was 6, and it was just like, it was so like surreal. Like, they're gone. I don't understand, and I didn't. They're my only friends. I mean, like, I think at the time I was either in preschool, or getting ready to go into kindergarten.
You mean Sheila school? Sheila school. Dang it, I said it wrong.
No, that was 2nd grade.
Oh, okay.
That was later.
Gotcha.
But that was before that. But yeah, it was just like I didn't know what to do. I didn't. My buddies, my friends were gone, and I think that was my first first remembrance of my first heartbreak.
Mm. How about you other two? Share your first heartbreak with us.
So my first quote unquote heartbreak that is nowhere near as intense as Patrick's is. So when I was in first grade, I had somebody, I don't know if he was really my quote unquote friend in first grade. He was just somebody that was in my class. And I had just gotten for Christmas, and I don't know if you guys even remember this show. So it was right after Power Rangers came out, and they had all these kind of like knockoff shows to try to, catch on Power Rangers' success. And there was a particular show on called Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad.
Oh, nope.
Yes.
Don't remember that one.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Sounds cool.
So
sounds awesome.
it was actually really cool.
Sounds like a mouthful for a kid to learn the name of, but
it is.
Mommy, can I go to Toys R Us so I can get the Superhuman Mega Battle Cyber
Ninja Squad
toys?
Killer Faces
thing.
No, I'll have to send you guys the main theme to it. Like,
for sure,
it is cheesy. Like, it's worse than Power Rangers.
It's like they just tried to add everything that kids like in the title.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, okay, what are the buzzwords
like
kids like? Let's pick the top 10.
Samurai, Cyber Squad.
What are the top 10? Let's mash those together for the kids.
So for that Christmas, I had gotten one of the action figures of the main guy from that show.
I see where this is going.
I brought it into school, and my so-called friend, he saw it and he's like, "Oh man, can I borrow it?" And I was like, "Okay,
abort!
Sure.
It's a code." The kid says borrow. That means something else.
And I let him borrow it, and I never saw it again.
Oh no!
Man.
What did he do with it?
Give us his address.
Matt, hold on. I'm looking at the YouTube video right now, and Matthew Lawrence is the main character.
Yeah, he was.
Are you serious?
The main
Matthew
character.
Lawrence is the main character.
Yeah,
that's hilarious.
And years later, I was able to approach him again about it, and I said, "Where is that?" He said, "I took a hammer to it."
What?
I was like, "What?"
Oh, heart doubly broken.
Also, side note, we're not friends anymore.
Side note. Geez.
Side note. No doubt about that. Jeez.
That kind of sealed the deal.
I'm pretty sure that's the same level as Patrick's heartbreak.
That's worse.
Once he hammered it, I mean, that's like double heartbreak. It's pretty rough.
Yeah. So, I mean, for a 6-year-old, that's kind of...
He watched it and he was like, "This is so bad. I am saving you from having to watch this again."
Joke's on him. Still love it.
and the word cyber, it is not started with a C. It's
with an S.
SYBER. I don't know what that means.
Gosh, that's awful. All right, Ronnie, how about you, buddy?
So the first heartbreak that I can remember actually was in the 7th grade. So 7th grade football starting up, my grades were not good enough, and I could not play football in 7th grade.
Oh, no.
Like my grades my 6th grade year, I guess, were not good enough, so I could not play. And I basically had played football since I was a fetus.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was rough. It was rough. And the worst part about it was, so nobody knew that my grades weren't bad until I'd actually gone out for the practices and stuff at the beginning, and then was told that I couldn't play. So I was very much kind of on the team, and then told that I couldn't play. It was terrible.
Oh gosh,
that's awful.
So
yeah.
Were you able to practice and all that? You just couldn't play on the team during games?
So I was. They gave me the option of being helping out with the team and stuff like that.
Water
which I did not
boy.
do. Yeah, basically water boy, which they think they refer to as a manager when you're a kid to make you sound important, but you're just a water boy.
Yeah.
But I did not do that. So, but it was rough. It was rough. I had played football basically my entire life.
That hurts.
Yep.
Well, for me, my first heartbreak, I actually have already mentioned. It was when my first crush crushed me in second grade. Shout out to Alicia. Besides that, the other heartbreak that I thought of was actually
Shout
when
out to Alicia. How do you like him now?
Yeah. You could be in Brazil if you hadn't have crushed me, and you could be going to them deflated Hot Pocket festivals. You're missing out, sister. So
Drinking that cane sugar juice.
cane sugar juice. I forgot about that.
What is that actually called again? The drink that you drink?
you just flipped it. It's sugar cane juice.
Okay.
Yeah, it's close enough. You were good. You had all the words.
Nailed it.
Yep.
Nailed it,
Dimon
more or less.
Poju.
But anyways, the first time that I feel like I had my heart broken was actually with it was with the movie Old Yeller. I remember watching that as a little kid. I don't know if you guys have watched it. It's super old. I mean, it was before my time. But this is one of like an early Disney movie back when they were doing, they're first doing the live action movies. I think it was in color. Yeah, I think it was like that really bad old color. That was like, The Wizard of Oz when it's black and white and then it turns color, but it really looks like somebody in the animation department just like colored in the black and white picture. And it doesn't really look that great, but it's just what they had to work with at the time. Have you guys seen Old Yeller?
I haven't seen it in
Bits and pieces.
forever, but I remember
right.
seeing it when I was younger.
Spoilers for Old Yeller. It's just about this pioneer family that have a faithful dog named Old Yeller that takes care of them when their father, the father in the family dies, and so all they have is Old Yeller to protect them and help them on the farm or whatever. And Old Yeller saves the youngest boy from wild animals like warthogs or something. And in the process, Old Yeller gets rabies. And then eventually he turns on them. And when he turns on them, they have to shoot. The other brother has to shoot the dog.
Oh, geez.
And kill him.
Mm.
And when I watched this, I was 4, maybe 5 years old. And it crushed me. The idea of someone killing an animal. And from there, it just feels like every time I watched a movie with an animal, I either expected them to die or when they died, I lost it. And I've alluded to this before, like when I watched All Dogs Go to Heaven, an animated movie, back in the day, I went to my mom while she was doing something else in the kitchen. I was like, why did he have to die? She's like, who died? I'm like, the dog. What dog? The dog in the animated movie. She's like, oh my gosh, are you serious? I'm like, yes. It just...
Wait, it's an animated movie?
No. This is later on. I had told you guys many, many moons ago. But no, this is a live action movie, Old Yeller. And it's, and the dog dies. But it's just from there, like, to me, it inspired me to be a vet. And then I realized I really couldn't handle death and sickness with animals. I just totally abandoned the veterinarian desires that I had and moved on to wanting to be a doctor. Because people dying isn't as big of a deal. I'm just kidding. That's not true. But when I was a little kid, that's just how I felt I'm being honest. When I was little, I'd watch movies and the humans would die and I'd be like, it's fine. It's just, they're actors. And then the animals would die and I would cry my eyes out. Just humans. But the animals, they're sweet, innocent. They shouldn't die. So that's my first heartbreak, was actually from a movie. We actually wanted to share people in our community's heartbreaks as well. And to lead us off, we actually have a voicemail from, I think, a new friend that we made that we have not spoken to, but he had the courage to share with us his heartbreak in life. So let's listen to that voicemail now.
Hi, good morning, guys. This is Dallas. I just wanted to call in. I love your show, and I just wanted to call and tell my story because I heard you guys were talking about heartbreak, and I got a story of my own. The day I lost my favorite mop. Melba was the best wooden-handled mop you'd ever seen, and I used to love mopping her up and down the hallways at the school where I worked. I unfortunately, you know, with age, everything ages. I age, certainly. You know, the wooden handle just started to fray and break, and there just came a day where I had to send her off to the dumpster in the sky. Plastic mop handles, they just ain't the same, you know. And she just couldn't handle the mop anymore, so I just had to, and it hurt real bad. That one was hard for me to share, but hope it helps somebody out. Go get your good morning on, you guys.
Dallas.
Awesome.
Dallas. Our heart goes out to you, my friend. I don't know how we can have a good morning after hearing that tragic loss of yours.
God, can you leave a voicemail for us every week?
Please. Dallas, every single week. Tell us. You can talk about anything.
You can pick the topic.
And as long as at some point in the voicemail you say something about the dumpster in the sky, it will be a good story. Woo!
Oh, man. Dallas has carte blanche the rest of this podcast.
That is correct. Oh, man. I can't even follow up with that. I'm just going to go to another Discord member because there are no words or mops, apparently. Tim Paullin, our very own from the Discord, said, I'm a Minnesota Vikings fan. Vikings blow the 1998 NFC Championship game. 2 years later, Vikings lose 41-0 in the NFC Championship game. Vikings make it to 4 Super Bowls, lose every single time, and they have not been back in over 40 years. So, with that comment from Tim Paullin, do you guys have any sports-related heartbreak that you'd like to share? I know that Ronnie already kind of shared one based on his personal experience, but do you have any sports teams, sporting events, or more if you have other sporting things you've played in where heartbreak is how it ended?
Well,
yeah, basically everything in Cincinnati, right?
Yeah, we live in Cincinnati. We haven't had a championship in, 30 years?
That's it? That's not bad.
In
so
all the major
sports? The Bengals
sports?
have only been to 2 Super Bowls, and they lost both of them. So I feel like we're trailing behind here.
Yeah, not as bad as the Vikings, and they haven't won in 40 years. The Bengals have never won in their existence.
Oh, that's pretty bad.
The Reds have won, 5 World Series? The last one was in 1990.
That's pretty good.
The Bearcats haven't won since the 60s when Oscar Robertson used to play.
More specifically, do you remember moments when your heart was personally broken? I mean, obviously, it's in perpetual
day here in Cincinnati.
It's perpetually breaking, I know, as a Cincinnati sports fan. But do you remember, like getting super close and something happening?
Yeah, there was back in, I think it was 2005.
Kenyon Martin, wasn't it?
What's that?
Was it Kenyon Martin?
No, that was 2000. Yeah, that was 2000 when UC Bearcats were unbeatable. They had this big, tall guy who was unbelievable in everything that he was doing. That was Kenyon Martin. And in the NCAA tournament, he had broken his leg, and which pretty much shot the Bearcats from winning that year. There was also in 2005 for the Cincinnati Bengals, they had the best team on the field, and this was when Carson Palmer used to play for the Bengals, and they were in the playoffs. They were playing against the Steelers, and a former Bengal lineman goes in to tackle Carson Palmer, and he tackles him so low that he breaks Carson Palmer's leg, and pretty much shot the Bengals from going any further in the playoffs. And I remember that team. That team was the best team. They had Chad Johnson,
I remember
Chris
that
Henry.
team.
I mean, that was the team.
That was a stellar team.
But it was a total heartbreak along with that. Both of those leg breaks It was just those are the years for them, and they messed it up.
If I can be any encouragement to you in that heartbreak, if you are a baseball fan at all in New England, you know that from 1918, when Babe Ruth was traded from the Red Sox to the Yankees,
The curse.
to 2003, we did not win a World Series. And it was called the Curse of the Bambino for a long time. Because if you don't know, for those who don't know, the Babe Ruth, his nickname was the Great Bambino. And
The Great Bambino.
The Colossus of Clout.
The Sultan of SWAT.
I thought you said the Great Bambi.
I love that movie.
Yeah, ever since he got traded, they had a this long curse where they just couldn't make it. They couldn't win. And then finally in, I think it was 2003 or 2004, they finally won a World Series.
Oh man, and they did it in such a way. I remember that year.
Yep. Absolutely. And ever
crazy.
since then they've won a few
they made up
World
for it.
Series.
That's exactly why none of us feel bad for you now.
That is correct.
Okay.
That doesn't make it any better.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm trying to be encouraging.
If it makes you feel any better, the Red Sox have won more.
Well, what I'm saying is there will come a day.
I don't believe it.
Will there?
Not in Cincinnati.
Yeah, I don't think so. We don't have that kind of payroll.
Whatever.
Ronnie, do you have any sports heartbreak you want to share?
I pretty much share the same ones with Patrick. Those two that he explained were, I don't want to say like Kenyon Martin in the tournament in 2000. Like, I don't want to say it was a sure thing because you never know what's going to happen in that tournament. But I believe UC, did they get an number one overall seed that year? Like, they were
they were
so
number
dominant.
1 overall. They had won over 30 games that year.
They were so dominant.
Only
and,
2.
like, Kenyon Martin was clearly like the best player the entire year out of all colleges, and that felt like, man, this is it. Like, this is going to be our national championship right here. And when he went down with that injury, it's like everybody was just like, oh, man, like people were crying. Like, it was horrible. And then the Carson Palmer injury too. That was so bad because everybody was so pumped up on the Bengals that year, man. Like, they were so good. It was so much fun. Like, the whole year, you're like, man, this team could really do something. This team could make it. And then he goes down, and you're like, man, it's over. And the funny thing about that game was actually the backup, John Kitna, came in and made a game out of it. Like, it was actually not a horrible game after that. But no, Carson Palmer was in his prime. He was awesome. Like, they were so much fun to watch. And it just all came crashing down at that second when he went down with that injury. So both of those scenarios were pretty much the same for me. Anybody in Cincinnati, any Cincinnati fan probably would be able to feel that way about those.
Well, the main time period when I had the most heartbreak in sports was 92, 93, and 94. I remember those 3 years so vividly. First of all, in 92, the Pirates get to the NLCS and face off against the Atlanta Braves. I was a Pittsburgh Pirates fan back in the day. And
was that with Barry Bonds?
Yes. And they lose right at the end where they...
Skinny back then.
Forget the whole, the home run record and all that stuff. I was never a real huge Barry Bonds fan, but just I remember watching... I don't remember which game it was. I think it was Game 6. I don't think they took it 7 games, if I remember right, in the NLCS, but the championship game. But I remember once they lost and the Braves were celebrating, I went to the bathroom and I closed the door and I cried. Like, I hit the door and I was like, I wanted them to win so badly, and I cried. The next year, Jordan, or maybe it was the next year or the year after, Jordan retired the first time from basketball to go play baseball. That was kind of a heartbreak just because I loved watching Jordan play for the Bulls. And when he abandoned basketball to go play baseball, I was like, are you serious? Because even though I enjoyed baseball at the time, basketball was still the sport I loved to watch. That and American football. But then he retires to go play baseball, and then in '94, baseball strike happens, and for like 200-something days, there are no baseball games. That's actually like when I fell out of love with baseball, and they broke my heart so much between the Pirates loss in '92, the strike in '94, and them stealing, even though it was Jordan's doing, them stealing Jordan from basketball. Like, baseball broke my heart, and I've never looked back since. That was the first sports like heartbreak that I had. After that, I would say that it wasn't until 2009 when my West Virginia Mountaineers were on the cusp of making the championship in NCAA football. They were number 2 in the nation, and I think at the time the number 1 in the nation, Ohio State, the Buckeyes, I think had just lost, and all they had to do was beat Pittsburgh. And that's all they had to do was to get to the championship. And they missed like 3 field goals, made no touchdowns. I think in the second half, I stood in my best friend's living room, Tom, that I talked about last week. We stood and had our rally caps on. We were chanting and screaming, and they could not get a touchdown, and they lost like 12-9. It was a terrible.
Wow.
It was terrible, and we didn't make it to the championship because of that. And then most recently, the most recent heartbreak that I've had in sports that I don't know if it was a heartbreak. I'm a big LeBron James fan. And when he lost his last finals as a Cavalier, actually that first game when LeBron lost because his teammate, what is his name?
J.R. Smith.
J.R. Smith got confused with the time, and he didn't take the shot, and he ran away with the ball.
So terrible.
That game broke my heart, and I could tell that it broke LeBron's heart. And it's from that first game, I was like, they're not gonna win, and I didn't watch any more games. Like I don't know that it broke my heart because I wasn't that invested. But like I said, I'm a LeBron fan, and I wanted it to be a good finals between Golden State and the Cavaliers, but it wasn't in the cards. Didn't work out. So those are my sports heartbreaks. Sheldor, a.k.a. Jonathan, our very own Captain Grammar, had this to say on the Discord. He said, as most of you know, I am very young, so I still have not gone through many heartbreaks. There really has only been one that I would really call a heartbreak. I have only dated one girl, and it only lasted 8 short months. When she dumped me, it hurt. But again, it only lasted 8 months. So, we're sorry to hear that.
That's a pretty long
Sheldor.
time, actually.
8 months is a good.
Yeah,
that's a good amount of time for sure.
Yeah, it is.
With that, did you guys have any dating heartbreaks that you wanted to share?
I don't have any.
I will start. I wouldn't say like a dating heartbreak, but as I've explained before, like I got divorced last year, and I think just the whole process was kind of heartbreaking because it's just the whole, I guess, failure overall over the whole thing, was
Right.
heartbreaking. I wouldn't say, I got my heart ripped out, but it was kind of a, what you had planned for life didn't work out. So like the whole process was heartbreaking. It took, I would say, a couple of months for me to kind of get like back to myself,
Yeah.
So, I mean, not a dating one, but, long-term relationship. I was with her for 13 years, and we were married for 5. So, yeah, it was definitely heartbreaking, the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess along those lines, and I'll admit I was a little hesitant to talk about this, but I'll go ahead and talk about it a little bit. I won't go into specifics, but...
Yeah, you just share what you want to share, man.
Yeah.
You feel comfortable sharing.
I've talked about it in the past, I think really briefly, that I've also been through a divorce, and the circumstances around that were just really, really difficult. And it almost felt like a really raw, open wound. That's the best way I can really describe it.
Right.
I felt like I was walking around with this just gaping wound for many months. And, I had to deal with a lot of that. You had to, and I went to a couple of different counseling things, for divorce. and stuff like that. And you have to grieve not just the breakdown of the marriage a lot of times, but in my experience, there are like a whole bunch of different losses that you basically have to grieve. And so it's a big process. And so for me, it took, a couple of, like a year or two at least, to really, feel like I was, sort of on the mend. So I guess probably closer to a year, to feel like I was okay enough. And there was a lot of stuff I had to deal with, a lot of personal things in my own life, things I could have, things to improve upon, just in myself. Because in a lot of that experience, there's only so much you can do. You can't really, obviously you can't control the other person. So what you can do is take care of yourself and try to heal as much as possible and try to, just live and learn, I guess, in that place. And God really worked on me. I wish I could say it was perfect. It was definitely a learning experience to go through it. And I made some mistakes just while in the healing process. But I'm doing okay now. I'm doing fine, obviously. I got remarried. It never really fully goes away because you can't just forget it. But you grow from it, and you live despite it, because it's one point in your life, and God can use that. So you just continue living, and for me, living for God and doing what I can do in my ministry and in my family, that's what I can do to move on. So
I'm glad you mentioned that, because it brought up a few things, like in my own situation, I guess kind of reminded me of them. Because if you think about it, when you hear that somebody got divorced, you're like, oh, that's rough. They're not with that person anymore. But there's a lot of other things that are outside of that you don't really realize. So like for me, and I don't know if this was the same for you, Mark, but little odd things when I moved back into my house. So when we separated, I stayed with my parents for a couple of months, and then I moved back in the house that we owned. She didn't want to keep the house, and I was fine with it. So I moved back into the house, and it's almost like a deafening silence. You go from automatically, you have a person that's living there with you all the time, or animals, like we had dogs, always sound, always something, to just complete like deafening silence. And it's something that's like you don't think about, but it's little things like that do make it harder, like to get over that, like that heartbreak of everything. So for me, it took a long time to get used to just the silence. Like I would walk around with my phone in my pocket and play music like throughout the house, because there's no other, there's just no other sound. Or you leave a TV on in one room. Just something like break that silence, because it's difficult to get used to at first. And even something as simple as going to sleep, like, for 13 years you slept next to somebody, and then all of a sudden you're sleeping by yourself.
You don't.
There's just a lot of things that make that hump to get over, like that heartbreak from the whole thing. They just make it more difficult moving forward. So I'm right there with you, Mark, in that. I know for a few months, I guess like a couple of months, I would consider myself like just in a completely different state. Just you feel like you have this complete life plan, and all of a sudden that life plan is gone, and you don't have any plan for the future other than yourself. And just that the getting over that part, I think, is tough, because it's almost as if you're not actually living for anything at that time. You're just kind of existing, and that is something difficult, to get used to. It was difficult for me, and Mark, sounds like maybe for you as well. And like you said, you started, and you started becoming more involved in the ministry, and like for me, it was my friends. started hanging out with them more and stuff like that. But there are a lot of little things that you don't think about when you just hear that somebody gets divorced. There's a lot of little bitty things that are humps to get over. If I find out that somebody gets divorced, I always try to relate to them on that level. Like I know these things are hard to get used to because it's something nobody tells you. You don't know you don't really know what to expect. But a lot of little difficult things that make that heartbreak harder to get over.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I pretty much had the same deal with me. For a good amount of time, like I didn't want to be at home. I didn't want to be in the home that we lived in. So thankfully, my parents live here, and so I was able to stay with them a lot of times. I didn't want to be alone. I didn't just because like I said, it was just this raw open wound, and it hurt too much to be by myself. Because especially the way my mind works, it's just constant reminders of what was and it was now destroyed at that point. And I didn't want, I was still, there was a point where I was holding on to hope, because I didn't want the divorce. But there just comes a point where it's like you can't control the other person. You just can't.
Yeah.
And so, for quite a while, I didn't want to be at home. I didn't want to be alone. So finally, I was like, okay, I just want to live my life as functionally as I can. Eventually I did go back home to the place where I lived. And, obviously I don't live in that home anymore. My wife and I have our own home now. Mm-hmm. I know what it's like to just have that deafening silence. It's just a constant reminder of the fallout, the bomb that has dropped.
Yeah, it definitely takes a long time to get used to, and longer than you would suspect, because it's not for me. It was not something I was expecting to deal with. It's not something you think about, and then all of a sudden, like you get home and a couple days go by and you're like, wow, it's completely silent. Like it's just it's a strange feeling.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah, I would imagine. I think that's in hitting on the last thing you talked about there, Mark, with heartbreak, not just with divorce, but with just heartbreak in general. It's the things you can't control that make it the hardest to deal with. It's the things that you don't expect. People focus on whether it's divorce or ending a relationship. They focus on just the decision of what you've made to split, to cut ties with who you've been with or have loved or called your husband or wife or boyfriend or girlfriend. Like in relationships, and it's never as simple as just a decision. There's so much more that goes into it, and all those things you can't control, they go into that heartbreak and make it worse. Especially when you don't see it coming, especially when it's outside of your control. Sure, you made a decision, but at the same time, there are so many there. With one decision you make, there are 50 other decisions that you couldn't make or couldn't perceive or couldn't see coming. I know in my life, I had a number of heartbreaks during high school. And when I was a freshman in high school, I dated a girl, my first serious girlfriend, the first person that I told that I loved. I dated her for a year, and then she said she wanted to go on a break. That whole classic Ross and Rachel.
Oh my gosh.
Let's go on a break. And as soon as she said, let's go on a break, and I hung up the phone, I realized that it was the best decision I could make. But then 3 days later, I got called to the guidance counselor's office in high school, freshman year, and my ex-girlfriend is there crying. And pretty much for the next hour in the guidance counselor's office, she's like, I want us to get back together. And I heard her out. She made her peace. And I was just like, sorry, it's not going to happen.
Wait, she went to the guidance counselor for a get back together?
Yeah. It wasn't even a private conversation. Like the guidance counselor was over at the computer, like clicking on
a
stuff.
mediator.
Yeah, well, it didn't go that. It wasn't that weird where they were mediating. But like that was my first real breakup. And for me, I got over it a lot faster than I thought I would, like at the time when it first happened. but it hurt her a lot too. And but after that, I unfortunately made some very bad relational decisions. And I remember, I think the summer after she and I broke up, I had a summer fling with a girl in my youth group, and she wanted to take things seriously, and I did not. And in the process, I not only broke her heart, but my best girlfriend at the time, I also hurt her as well, and our friendship pretty much got ruined from there. And that's where my heartbreak came in, to where I just didn't think about the fallout. I didn't think about I was just living in the moment, and I ruined a good friendship, like a friendship I had with a girl that wasn't romantic whatsoever. It was just someone that confided in me, and I confided in her, and I ruined it. Like I just made selfish decisions, and I brought heartbreak in my life through my own decisions. So heartbreak is there's so many factors and so many things that go into it. Travis Popsicle, he wanted to share the biggest heartbreak I ever had, besides my current situation, was finding out my grandmother passed. I spent loads of time with her, helped her around the house. We played rummy together, and just had great conversation. I was running a load down in Texas for work, and got a call that they found her on the couch where I live now. I was devastated. After several years, I still have that heartache. I couldn't get back for the funeral, so I buried a hand of cards at her gravesite. Our last hand of rummy together.
You know, I actually used to play rummy with my grandmother all the time. She's still with us, thankfully. But it's funny the games you play, like with your grandma. But we used to play rummy so much, so I can totally relate to how, you know, he enjoyed that.
Yeah. And knowing Travis, I imagine, like, for him, anytime he plays a game like rummy or whatever, it's a way to honor his grandmother or think fondly upon her. I think that's,
for sure.
You know,
for sure.
One of the things about heartbreak is if we can learn from it, if we can, you know, remember the happy memories and kind of what we gain through it, whether it's wisdom, knowledge, patience, you know, it's worth it in the end, even if we didn't like it, even if we didn't choose it. So I know that every time, like, it sounds funny, but every time I see Price is Right, I think of my grandmother that passed away actually while I lived in Brazil. But I used to watch Price is Right with my grandma all the time. Every time I hear about Bob Barker, see Price is Right or whatever, I think of her, and it's nice.
Yeah, I certainly miss my grandmother. It was my mom's mom. You know, she was a pivotal part of raising me. You know, both sets of grandparents I was really close to them. They lived in the same town. And so my grandmother, my dad's mom, passed away when I was like 7. But my mom's mom and my dad's dad, they were with us until I was in college. And so, you know, they were a huge part of my life. And when they both passed away, they passed away in the same year, as I talked about on a previous episode. You know, it was certainly a rough experience for me, and I still miss, you know, a lot of the good times I had with them. And I remember my grandmother used to love wrestling. Like, she would watch WWF when it was called WWF.
Nice.
That is awesome.
Yeah, she watched back in like the Hulk Hogan days, like the original Hulk Hogan.
The golden years.
With Andre the Giant and all that kind of stuff. They would
Awesome.
They would order Domino's pizza and they would watch wrestling. And so when I got to like middle school and I started liking wrestling, she took me to a lot of local wrestling shows, and that's how I met some of the friends I did in middle school, which we'll touch on in the middle school episode whenever we get to it. But you know, I always remembered like going to a wrestling match with my grandmother.
That's an awesome story.
That's awesome.
And I just remember, my grandfather, my dad's dad, he was a dirty old man. Like he used to tell some of the worst dirty jokes. But
Look out.
But he was my dirty old man. And
my dirty old man.
Should make a TV show about that. But it was really hard. It was really rough when they passed away. Just because they were such a huge part of my life growing up. And they both, like I said, they both passed away in the same year. My grandmother passed away in March, and my grandfather passed away in December. So, having to come up to New Hampshire both times for funerals was kind of hard. And, I still have a lot of memories, and I miss them definitely, but I know where they are now, and that certainly brings peace to my heart, knowing I'll see them again. But it was definitely rough back during the time, for sure.
Yeah.
The only heartbreak I had with my grandparents, I really didn't, like I said in previous episodes, I really didn't know them. They lived in separate states. But I remember I had said previously when my grandma had passed away, and I saw my grandpa at the funeral home, and he's just sitting in a chair, just sobbing. He said that his wife Mary said that she was going to wait for him, and that my heart broke for him.
Yeah.
In that scenario. So. Unfortunately, I didn't have a very close relationship with my grandparents, but that really did break my heart for him. When like being with someone like that for 50 plus years,
yeah,
and passing away, it's devastating.
Yeah, I've actually lost both of my dad's mom and my mom's dad. Or my both dads, both grandpas on both sides, and both my grandmas are still living, and they're both doing really well. But man, losing them, it was I just think that losing your grandfather thing is you lose like just the head of the family,
yeah,
just that person that's always been just at the top, your entire life growing up, that person you look up to, and yeah, it is heartbreaking, and kind of like Patrick had said, it's heartbreaking too for the ones that are left behind. Both my grandmas at the time, like, it's hard to not be like heartbroken for them. To lose the person that's, taken care of and been their companion for 50 something years, and so yeah, it is a rough thing. It is.
All right. Well, as we get towards the end of our time together and the end of our heartbreak sharing, do you guys have any last minute heartbreaks you'd like to share? Marc, did you want to share your heartbreaking music for us? To us?
Absolutely, I do.
With us?
So,
sorry, I don't know which preposition to use.
That's okay.
What's a preposition?
I was picking up what you were throwing down.
Ask Sheldor. Love
you,
Sheldor.
No, don't ask Sheldor. Whatever you do. Love you, Jonathan. As always, you can check out the Good Morning Guys morning playlist on Spotify and on iTunes. Thank you again, Bernabe. And so this week's submissions, some of which are mine and others of which are submissions by the community. So thank you very much, GMG community, for your submissions this week. So the first song is Elvis Presley's Heartbreak Hotel, which is a classic, by submission of one Mr. Lucas Ham Swisher. Wingers Headed for a Heartbreak. Yes.
Shout out to my wife for reminding me of that classic monster ballad song.
And then Def Leppard's Bringing on the Heartbreak, which I don't know if you've heard that, but it's a good song. And then I believe Travis Popsicle sent Love is a Battlefield. which is
Tyler's a
just
good one.
classic. I mean, a lot of these are 80s songs that I'm putting on this list, but I don't care because I get to choose, and 80s songs are awesome. So
That
I
is
want to
correct.
make one comment about Def Leppard, and it's that ever since I saw Joe Dirt and Kid Rock, it's like, sissy boy, Def Leppard sucks. Like, I cannot hear Def Leppard without thinking of Kid Rock saying that. Totally ruined it for me.
listen, you have to give Def Leppard a lot of credit, like especially their drummer, because their drummer has one arm. Like, he lost one of his arms in a car accident, and he basically rigged up his drum kit to where he can play with one.
I've heard of
arm.
that.
What?
That's crazy.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah. So think what you want about 80s hair bands. That's a lot of talent there to be able to figure that out and do that and get back on the horse.
Man, those 80s ballads, though.
Excuse the
Those were awesome.
Oh man,
All of them.
they're the best.
Yep,
Big hair.
for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, those are the submissions for this
Nice.
week. Hope you
A
enjoy.
fine selection, sir. A very fine selection as always.
Thank you. Sir.
I had two more final thoughts. One inspirational and one just very fun one that you may or may not have thought we were going to skip. So do you want the inspirational thought or the fun thought? Or that's not really a thought. The fun
Is it which
moments.
one we want first, or do we want
Yeah, you have to
only
choose.
one of them?
Instead of good news or bad news, it's good news or fun news.
Let's do the good news first. Save the fun news
All
for
right.
last.
The good news is this. I just wanted to share a psalm with you. Psalm 30, 8 through 12. To you, Lord, I called. To the Lord I cried for mercy. What is gained if I am silenced? If I go down to the pit, will the dust praise you? Will it proclaim your faithfulness? Hear, Lord, and be merciful to me. Lord, be my help. You turned my wailing into dancing. You removed my sackcloth and clothed me with joy, that my heart may sing your praises and not be silent. Lord, my God, I will praise you forever. And I just want to encourage, if somehow, some way, I know we made lots of jokes, and we had a mixture of silly heartbreaks and serious heartbreaks. If you are going through a heartbreak, if you are still dealing with the aftermath of the heartbreak, I just want to encourage you, as I think Marc, especially Marc and Ronnie already insinuated and encouraged, don't go at it alone. The part of the reason we do this stuff and we talk about this stuff is to connect with others, and we just want to encourage you. I want to encourage you to reach out, to share, to talk, to connect, to find some way, whether it's on our Discord, Twitter, with us personally, with somebody in your life personally that you could talk to face to face. Share it, because I can guarantee that through that sharing, I can personally attest that through God, He can definitely make the bad times become better, and He can.
No man is an
Amen.
island.
And that difficult time you're going through is not the end. It is not the finish line, and you're going to turn a corner through the help and encouragement of others. With that, I also wanted to share a fun moment. We have yet another Fackler frenzy right at the last minute.
Hey!
Hey-o! So as long as Patrick will not be the executioner, we will sneak this little Fackler frenzy right in there. Okay? So, super listener Chad Fackler has a dating frenzy for us that we're going to sneak in right at the end. Are you guys ready? Ronnie first, then Patrick, then Marc. Got that order?
Where are you going to go?
Mm-hmm.
I'll just go last.
You want to go first, though, instead?
I can go first. Do you want me to go first?
Yeah.
Okay. So me first, then Ronnie, then Patrick, then Marc.
So I'm last.
Close enough. Here we go. Dating
You
frenzy.
can see the
Let's
blood
just do it.
vessels popping.
Movie out or Netflix and chill? I'm going to go with reality here. Netflix and chill with the wife, if you know what I mean.
I was going to say
That's
Netflix
what that
and
means.
chill means maybe. Hey, good choice. I'm also going to go with Netflix and chill. I would much rather watch a movie like at the house than actually go out to the theater.
Uh-huh.
So now I have two thoughts on this.
I bet you
If
do.
I'm watching a
Just
comic
two.
book movie.
Just two.
Yep. It's got to be out. I am watching those comic book movies on the big screen with that surround sound. But anything else, it's Netflix.
Don't forget Chill.
Of course.
Bow, 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 chicka, wow, wow.
Brown chicka brown chow.
What? Brown? Brown chicken? Brown?
How now, brown cow?
I said brown chicka brown cow. Anyway. So yeah, I'm definitely with Patrick. If it's like, a major like superhero movie or something like that, yeah, we go out. But if we're like, a lot of times my wife and I will end up watching like YouTube. We don't watch movies half the time. I mean, we will watch some, but
You just
yeah,
rewatch
definitely.
those 1912 Doctor Who movies or shows?
1912.
They've been on for like 4,500 years, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
Your math,
right.
Patrick, amazes me.
Mark, I totally thought you were going to say
Which
because like you like to make the announcement in the theater, and then I thought about you making an announcement with just you and your wife watching it. Like, wait, there's an after movie credit.
Yeah, like when Netflix tries to force you to watch something else and it says in like 10 seconds it's going to change and you're like, no, there's after credit scene. We got to stop. We got to watch.
But no, if it's not anything like a superhero movie or something, we'll be at home. I like being at home, especially since I have technically 2 jobs. It's nice to have that time at home. Whereas Travis, why did I say Travis? Whereas Lucas doesn't do anything.
And I'm
He
the
stays at home.
executioner of
I'm
this
pretty
Fackler
sure
Friends.
Mark is taking over as executioner for the night. So that's 1 down, 8 to go.
Oh, 8.
Coming up
Goodness.
next, Big Valentine's Day out. Or, no, not out, sorry. Big Valentine's Day or not a Big Valentine's Day. I can't deal with the pressure sometimes, so I'm going to go with an intimate, personal Valentine's Day. So no big bunch of roses and balloons and stuff written in the sky with airplanes and all that stuff. Just not a big Valentine's Day. Just simple dinner and a movie, Netflix and chill. Ronnie.
I will take intimate as well, since that's an option.
I'm also going with Netflix and chill.
I guess it depends what you mean by like big Valentine's Day.
Yep.
Well-
He's got the reins.
Well, I mean,
And
for
moving on.
like if you consider big, like I took my wife out to dinner. That was it.
I'd say that's pretty chilled. Not like big extravagant.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, actually, this year we went.
Wait,
to,
is it
we
is it
spent
La
the day in
Coretta
Richmond.
or is it which?
No, it was not La Coretta.
Oh, then that's big. That's
Well,
big
she
Valentine's Day
actually
then,
spent-
because it's
Yeah, we spent the day in Richmond and just did whatever we wanted to do. I think we went to Cheesecake
oh,
Factory
look out.
for dinner.
That's pretty fancy.
So I guess technically that's big. So yeah.
Great. All right. Night out dancing or cozy. I don't know if this means night out dancing or night out cozy. I don't know. So, I'm going to go cozy. Again, Netflix and chill. Ronnie?
I'm going to go with cozy dancing. I like to dance at home.
Yeah, cozy dancing. Little Marvin Gaye in the background.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, cozy as well.
I'm gonna close it out with cozy.
Is that all you have to say about that?
That is all I have to say about that.
Great. Oh, it was cozy dinner at home. It went to the next line and I didn't see it.
Same answer.
Yeah,
What a
it's the same
disaster
answer.
this has become.
Yeah, well. Next one, breakfast in bed or brunch out. I mean, come on. Breakfast in bed, unless there's going to be a mess. Then take the breakfast somewhere else, because I don't like crumbs in the bed. But anyways, breakfast in bed for sure.
I'm going with La Coretta.
In
Yeah.
bed.
In bed.
I'm going to go with brunch out. I cannot eat in bed. I hate the crumbs.
Yeah, you're right. I take that back too. Brunch out. I changed mine.
Too late.
Yeah,
you got the crumbs
I'd
already.
rather not
Go
eat in
back.
bed.
Ah, that's right. Dang it, it's ruined. Mark?
Yeah, I'd rather not eat in bed, so definitely brunch out.
Oh, that's the worst, isn't it?
Mhm.
Without revealing names of anyone, I went to someone's house once where they let their kids watch movies and eat salty, buttery popcorn in their bed. And after the movie was over, my kids were watching it with them, and I looked on the bed, and there was buttery popcorn all over their bed. And I was just like, I'm shaking my head right now.
That's a
Tisk,
nope burger
tisk.
right there.
Next one, apology gift. Flowers or candy? I'm going to go with candy because you can't eat flowers unless you're a cow. And my wife is definitely not a cow.
I'm going to go with candy because candy can't die.
I'm gonna go with both.
You're the worst.
I'm going to go with you can't do that. You
right.
can't do that.
I'm gonna go with candy.
I'm going candy as well.
Mm-hmm. All right. Foot rub or shoulder rub? Shoulder rub.
Shoulder rub.
Shoulder.
Shoulder. My wife's too ticklish on her feet.
I thought we were getting the massage here.
Yeah. Are we getting this or giving it?
I mean, it's... Well, it doesn't specify.
Doesn't say.
Doesn't say.
Okay.
I think either
I can't
way,
let anybody
shoulders.
touch my feet anyways because I will kick somebody. Like my feet are ticklish and I start flailing around like a little girl.
Mine too. Those are girls flailing around. Bonus, what's the best breakup song from these 4 songs? Chicago's Look Away, Michael Bolton's How I Am, Supposed to Live with... Oh, dang it, this is the one... This is the one where I need to read the next line. Sorry, it's 3 options. Chicago's Look Away, Michael Bolton's How Am I Supposed to Live Without You, and Billy Vera's At This Moment. I'm going to go Michael Bolton. How Am I Supposed to Live Without You?
I'm going to go with Michael Bolton also.
Michael Bolton.
I'm going to go with Michael Bolton as well because Chicago's Look Away is just really cheesy.
I don't remember. How's that go, Mark? I don't remember how Look Away goes.
If you see me walking by with a tear, I can't remember all the words. In my eye, look away, baby, look away.
Yeah,
This
Mike
guy
Bolton's
can
much
sing.
better. What about what about Billy Vera? At this moment, how's that go?
I actually don't remember. Like, if I heard it, I'd probably know it. But that song is not coming to my mind at this moment.
Fair enough. All right, well, that's all we have for this Good Morning. Feel free to leave us a positive but honest review on iTunes if you have a couple minutes to spare. Once we get 20 reviews and or ratings, Ronnie, he's going to do something crazy. So take a couple minutes to share your opinion on the show for us. That would be great. Also, remember, if you'd like to join in on our future episodes or connect with our community but are not sure how to do it, check out the show notes that have all of our info on our Discord server. It is free and a fun way to connect directly with us and the community. Also, we have our personal Twitter handles. The show's is at the GMG Podcast. Also, you'll find our email, or you can even call us at what number, Patrick? Because we can't trust Ronnie or Mark.
929 GMG guys.
That's right. 929 GMG guys. Call in, leave a message, make up an intro to the show, or just ask a question. We sure hope Dallas will call us back again someday. Beyond that, talk at you again next week on podcast services around the globe as we talk about spoilers. The spoilers that have changed us, formed us, and molded us, whether in movie, film, books, life. Spoilers all around. Alrighty then, Pat, Mark, and Ronnie J., who for the 24th week in a row has not watched Christopher Reeve's excellent rendition of Superman. You listeners, our best friends and family, go get your good morning, and may God bless and guide your lives as you live, work, and game. Enoish!
1, 2, 3, 4.
Do you want me to listen to it before we start, or are you gonna play it during the podcast?
No, I'll just
It's like
I'll
1 minute, you
play
can-
it. Are you gonna set me up for it?
When do you want me to? Haven't heard the voicemail yet. Do you want me to listen to it to see where to set it up? Or?
It's about Heartbreak. So
It is about Heartbreak. Okay.
yeah.
Heartbreaker.
All right, let me listen to it real
And-
quick then, just to see where to.
It is from
Play
some
it for
guy
all
named
of us.
Dallas.
Hi, good morning, guys. This is Dallas. I just wanted to call in. I love your show, and I just wanted to call and tell my story because I heard you guys were talking about heartbreak, and I got a story of my own. It was the day I lost my favorite mop. Melba was the best wooden-handled mop you'd ever seen, and I used to love mopping her up and down the hallways at school where I worked. Unfortunately, with age, everything ages. I age, certainly. The wooden handle just started to fray and break, and it just came a day where I had to send her off to the dumpster in the sky. Plastic mop handles, they just ain't the same, And she just couldn't handle the mop anymore, so I just had to, and
It's the best
it hurt
voicemail
real
ever.
bad. That one was hard for me to share, but hope it helps somebody out. Go get your good morning on, you guys.
Does anybody have any idea who that actually
I
is?
had to take it to the dumpster to the sky.
Heaven under in the sky. Oh my god. No, wait. I didn't understand. What is it? A mop?
Yeah,
It was a mop.
Yeah, it was a mop.
Okay.
It was
All
a
right.
mop.
he's like, I used to mop her up and down the hallways.
Yeah, always. That's what I thought I heard.
And
That's
then,
gonna be.
we all
I don't-
age. I age.
I mean, his voice. That was professional voicemail. That was glorious. That
It
was
was,
like,
that was well done.
oh no, I don't know what to do with this.
They'd never say who it is.
Dallas.
Yeah,
Oh,
he said
that
his name
sounds
was
like-
Dallas.
Did
Is
he
there
say his
somebody
name
on
was
our thing
Dallas?
named Dallas?
Yeah, hold on.
Hi, good morning, guys. This is Dallas.
And so it sounds like Dallas.
Yeah, it's Dallas.
Is Dallas
Well,
an
you-
alias for this particular
I
voicemail?
kind of feel like we need to lead with Dallas. Can we lead with Dallas? Like, I'm going to introduce the topic, and then I'll say, like, the variety of things we can talk about tonight. And then just be like,
We'll play it.
maybe I could do it after our... So,
Or it
How-
could be in the credits. We can just play it during the credits.
I don't want to push him to the credits. He's
Yeah, no, I feel like we need to talk about it during.
so
the-
good.
He's too special. He's got to be a part of the conversation.